All right, you're asking for it, so here it is. Listen to this.
I want you fucking laughing at. We partners pod, kid. You understand? We in here drinking, singing, swinging, all that shit, dog. We sweating, getting wet.
Welcome to the 188th episode of the Drinking Partners Podcast. Contrary to today's request, this is not the Lynn Swann episode. Although shout out to Lynn Swann, Hall of Famer. He's a former Pittsburgh Steeler, Hall of Famer, so big ups to him. We got love for him. But for me, this is the Michael Irvin episode because he is the Bobby Brown of the NFL. Yes, Michael Irvin, the Bobby Brown of the NFL, and I believe Bobby Brown and them are coming to Pittsburgh soon. So shout out to them. I think New Edition on them, they coming. So I'm hoping. Yeah, they coming. I forget what it is. Yeah. The Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, Mike tour. They're coming. So once this airs, they will have already come. I can't remember the date, so I just had to do Michael Irvin because he's the Bobby Brown in the NFL. Yeah, we got to talk. Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, Mike. But I'm happy to be hosting Tandem Ed Bailey. I'm joined as always with my co-host Dave Bracey. Say what up to the people.
What's good with you people? Welcome to the Lynn Swann episode. We are the Drinking Partners, and if you're looking for us, you can find us on epicastnetwork.com/partnerspod. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Libsyn, Google Play, and Spotify under Drinking Partners. And you can find us on IG, Twitter, and Facebook at Partnerspod. 188 episodes and plus some, man. I mean, we lost a few, but we've been asking y'all, and we will continue to ask you, man. Please hop on iTunes, hop on Facebook, rate and review. That's how we know we're doing well. That's how we let others know that we're doing well. And that's how we continue to do well, man. So please hop on iTunes, hop on Facebook, rate and review.
Hey, listen, you love us. You see us in public, you tell us that you love us. Now, at the click of a button, please tell the internet. Please tell the world. And as always, you know it's coming. You know what I'm about to say is happened 187 times already.
If you listen to the episode beforehand, you know we eating Henny.
You know what it is.
We eating Henny.
Yeah. I'm going to pause that just because I'm not sure how that comes off, how it sounds. But I'm going to say this, 188 episodes, man, we've always been asking. We will tell you in lieu of rates and reviews, we do accept shots of Henny. Shout out to Car Guy DJ and the Conways for setting the trend and for always being so super supportive. Like all of our fans, so supportive. We have the most supportive fan base that I've ever seen. They bring us Henny cupcakes, for example.
We do accept shots of Henny cupcakes too.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go in and bake us some cupcakes with Henny in them, we're not gonna say no. Like,
shout out to Sweet Little Eats. Yeah, I mean that Henny ice cream.
Ooh, yeah, I think that might have been my first Henny delicacy.
That changed my life, man. I didn't know how beautiful of a drink Hennessy was until I had it in ice cream form. I shit you not. It just made it a different thing for me.
Well, look, man, I've tried to tell you about the wonders of Hennessy this whole time.
Anything
so
is
I put
possible,
you on the Henny,
man.
you put me on the craft.
This is what
a collaboration is. This is what a collaborative effort breeds fucked upness in so many different ways. Day and I could be fucked up on a multitude of things. You never know what we on, but generally it's off that craft. You feel me? But if you want to find us and see what we on, like what we dealing with, we got our shows. We have our monthly shows. Our next being at Contra Theater, November 24th. We're bringing the hometown hero Derek Knopfschneider. You know what I mean? We finally got him to take a seat. You know what I mean? Because he be out and about all the time, so it's difficult to get him booked. Well, we got him booked for a special event, our last show of the year.
Yeah, show of the year. Ooh, like right after Thanksgiving, man. I know you get you be with your family or whatever. Maybe you love them and you had a great time and you want to be like, hey, let's just go out and drink and get to know each other a little bit better and over some laughs and some craft beer. You can come out and do that. Or maybe your fucking racist ass uncle is just two motherfucking racists at that fucking table. You're like, you know what? I just want to get away from this motherfucker. Come through. We'll talk about it and laugh about it and drink about it. Sponsored by Mindful Brewing, man. But whatever it is that you want to do, come hang out with us. Last one of the year, we got Ty Mack, Mike Sasson, and a young cat, Joey Purse, man.
Joey P on the up and come, man.
Man,
it's good to see that glow up, man. He out with some vets, so he gonna hold his own.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a hell of a lineup, man. The last one of the year. So catch us at ComtraTheater.ticketleap.com.
I'm sorry, hold on. We're gonna edit this because he finished. Look, sometimes the synergy ain't there. I thought he was gonna carry me till I finished my cupcake.
I forgot you had something.
I thought he was gonna carry me.
I forgot we had Henny cupcakes.
This
out
motherfucker just stopped talking.
Shout out to Big Brothers and Big Sisters program. Yeah. Shout out to Devin. She came through with the Henny cakes.
With the Henny cakes, man. Oh yeah. So I'm back now. I done swallowed some cakes, Paul. So we're gonna get into our episode, man, because we got a good episode coming up. It's episode 2 of 2.
2 of 2.
So if you've been listening to the podcast, if you're familiar with what we do, you always know this one is extremely fun and faded, all right? Day is already halfway there. I might join him, but I probably can't because I got some real shit to do when I leave here, and I'm jealous as fuck.
I got pizza.
You got pizza?
I got pizza to get into.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we're gonna do this episode.
Yeah.
I be saying something, you just gonna throw something random out there. I got pizza. We're gonna get indicted off of audio alone.
2 of 2.
2 of 2. Yes, it's 2 of 2. But it's my first time sitting with these gentlemen, and I'm very eager to hear about what they got going on in the city of Pittsburgh. We got our Brewers episode of the day. You know, we try to get one in every other episode. We try to big up the craft industry. Yeah, I mean,
they've been like, we've been trying to get in them in the studio for like 3 years now, man. Like Buzzy and Nick were like, yo, you got to get these motherfuckers. Like they get like in the garage, like making some wild shit, yo. Like,
shit's being made in the, that's the thing. Like if shit's being made in the garage and that sustains, like there's some good shit coming out that garage. So we have Jeff Hanna and Dom Cicada of CoStar Brewing in the building. Say what up to the people.
What up, people?
Hi.
It's the sound of the day after.
The day after.
I apologize already.
What were y'all doing yesterday?
My wife is from Philly, so we were out there for the weekend. She surprised me for I'm turning 40.
Oh, nice.
Old dude.
Happy birthday.
So, yeah. And then her sisters, she's having a baby this December, so her sisters showed up and surprised her. And hijinks ensued.
Nice. Well, shout out to the
I was actually listening to you guys for the last 6 hours driving back from Philly this morning. Thanks, man. Thank you.
Literally, Jeff jumped in the car, drove 6 hours, and I was waiting for him in the brewery, and jumped right in my car and drove right here.
Oh shit, you fresh off.
Fresh
off.
Wow. First day out. You T Grizzly in it.
Yeah.
First day out.
Yeah, you did a cramp, man.
The nice part about that though is now you get the beer.
Oh, I need the beer too.
Now you get to relax. Now you get you got the surprise party. Then you had the trip. Now you get to relax and get questioned by us as we sit here and get faded off of your product.
Really, I call it getting back to normal. But.
There you go.
Yeah.
So tell us about how. I mean, first of all, how you two got into brewing, and then we'll approach the whole Highland Park situation. 'Cause I'm very interested with that. But how did you get into brewing?
It's literally the most generic scenario in the world. So Jeff and I have been friends for 15, 20 years. Met in a bar. We were dating. No, not really.
There was a bromance.
Yeah, there was a bromance. It started out around mountain bike. So Jeff and I both mountain bike. Met over in Shady Side. Jeff worked at a bar. I was working for Red Bull at the time.
Red Bull.
Yes, sir. And we both traveled around, drank a lot of craft beer. We're into it, and just happened to randomly one Christmas buy homebrew kits together. And I got back
independently of each other. And he called me and was like, "Dude, I got a homebrew kit," and I was like, "Me too."
This is like a real bro, man. It was like,
were y'all dating women at the time?
And I was like, "Hold me."
Well, no, because I'm just saying,
jealous of your relationship with Dom.
Yeah, exactly.
No, well, I'm just saying because I got friends and like their wives like kind of were like came together and was like, "Yo, we're gonna get them brew kits." You know what I mean? Like, so they had them like join it, but this was just on some serendipity. We just happened to get them.
Yeah, I legit I got it because I used to do a lot of climbing and mountain biking. I just basically mountain bike poorly now, but I didn't do much with my wife. So but she's a big craft beer fan too.
Okay.
So I was like, let's get a homebrew kit and we'll make beer and that'll be something we can do together. And then literally a week or two later, Dom was like, I just got a homebrew kit. And we had no idea. And that's when we just started brewing.
And so it went from I'm gonna do this with my wife to I'm gonna still go do this with Dom. So.
Yeah.
She got doubly mad at you. Like, I thought this was us. He's like, no, I'm still hanging out with Dom.
I'm like the weird dude that lives in the basement. Like, I'm here too, guys. Don't forget about me.
He just like pops up.
Knocking on the door. Hey guys, what you doing?
With a Superman t-shirt on.
Like
The onesie.
Like Painter and Murphy Brown, that old show. He's just always there. He's just constantly there. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
But yeah, my wife was fine with it though, because like we literally brewed one night. We had no idea what we were doing. It took way longer than we thought. We got back from work and like brewed it, and it was terrible when it came out. But literally after we were done with that, she was like, "Yeah, fuck that shit. That's all you. If you want, like, I'm fine not
she
spending
was
time
like,
with
she
you."
was like,
That's a giant pain in the ass. I'll just drink the beer.
Yeah, so we did that for a long time, just bottling, in the basement. Jeff and I almost gassed ourselves and burnt down his house one night using turkey fryers inside. Do not use turkey fryers inside. That's a bad idea. Right.
How do turkey fryers come into brewing beer?
Well, like the big pots, like so, like to boil it on a stove, it can take a long time. So like a lot of
So instead of
homebrewers
oil,
get
you
like
put water in it?
Yeah, exactly. So you get like that 8-pound like turkey fryer pot with the little propane burner, and it heats up a lot faster than just doing on your. So like most people, when they get into it a little more seriously, will go that route. And I was gutting my house and remodeling it at the time, and it was snowing, and so we were like, "Fuck it, we can probably just do this out in the front room. It's big, empty room with high ceilings." And no, it took about 10 minutes, and we were like, "Get that thing the fuck out of here."
I'm getting a little sleepy.
We were like, "We gotta go."
Yeah, your relationship was on the brink right there. Like she had let Dom step in on the brewing. Now the brewing done burned down the house. Like that's
Yeah. So she forced us into the garage. So thanks, Caitlin. You made us go into the garage.
See, Highland Park's gonna hear that now and be like, "Oh, we're shutting your asses down, fucking doing that shit inside." Yeah.
So we were just bottling beer, and we'd still go out, and I'd throw a couple in my backpack when I went out to the bar. We used to hang out in Shady Side a lot, just letting the bartenders try them, the bar owners that we knew. We got a good community there.
I didn't give that shit away.
You still hate.
I don't like. It's like too weird for me. I get nervous. I don't like it. Tom will take it everywhere, and
so we're getting some positive reactions there, and people started asking how they could buy it. And this was like 2012, I think. So 6 years ago, something like that. And we just decided to see what it would take to get legally done. At that point, there was like 3 craft breweries in Pittsburgh. So no one was doing this on that cusp.
I guess that was even longer ago.
It was
we
like
weren't licensed
2009.
yet, so that was probably like 2008, 2009.
Yeah, so it was like 10 years ago. Went through the process to license his garage, and just started. We essentially brew on the same system. It's just a glorified homebrewer system. So any joker can have what we have and brew out of the garage. So went through a process with Highland Park and got the garage license. And we don't have a tap room, as most people know. So we just keg and distribute it to a bunch of local bars.
I mean, that's what like East End, like when I was in Highland, this was like 2008.
Yeah.
I mean, like people were like, "Oh yeah, you can just show up to this place and bring this jug,
and
fill it with beer." And I was like, "What?"
Pretty much what we did,
I mean, but like that's. I mean, and so those are the beginnings. And that's what we try to with the Fresh Fest and whatnot, let's try to say is like, that's the opportunity that you have here in this industry.
Oh, yeah.
Is that like, you can buy like a kit, you can have this interest, you could buy a kit and you can learn this from the ground up and do this as
long as you're willing to read and study, anybody can make a beer.
You can do you Google? Do you got where do you get your knowledge from?
Well, it started just like normal. I bought like John Palmer's How to Brew and Charlie Papazian's The Joy of Homebrewing, which are like every homebrewer I think probably started with The Joy of Homebrewing or How to Brew from John Palmer, and those are like pretty thorough kind of books that get you started, and then from there if you get more into it, I guess like I have the malt book, the water book, the hop, and then you start talking to either you join a homebrew club or like I got into the beer judge certification program and those guys, and then once we got licensed, it was kind of weird because we had no idea how cool everybody in the industry was.
That's what drew us to it. That camaraderie is crazy.
Well, like we were going through it, and like I was like, well, Scott was one of the only other local guys around. There was a couple of like places open, but not many. So Scott in East End was there. And like,
yeah, Scott.
yeah, and like he was awesome, but I didn't know him back then, and I was just like, I wanted to like ask questions, but I was like, I'm not gonna go like ask these guys how to do shit because they're gonna be like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Right? You want to open up a brewery and be our competition?
Figure it out.
Like, fuck off.
Google it, motherfucker.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But then he was like
then I gotta
total
kill you.
opposite.
Yeah.
You know, he was like. So like Kelly's bar was like one of the first, if not the first place that
Shout
like
out
sold
Kelly's.
us. Yeah,
Oh,
Kelly's.
That's the knit connection.
Yeah. And so the manager at the time was like
I can't
saw
go to
Scott
Kelly's.
and was like, you know,
I'm no longer allowed in Kelly.
oh no, you must have done some fucked up shit.
Nah, I got accused of doing some fucked up shit.
Oh
I
no,
almost got arrested. It was just
That's some shit.
that's some shit.
And then I showed up and podcasted severely hungover.
Yo, it was like the fucking immaculate reception, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It was
it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, fuck that place then.
We got mixed feelings.
Yeah.
I don't get there very much anymore now because I got a pregnant wife, and nothing makes you feel like you have a drinking problem than like sitting at the bar with your pregnant ass wife who's like, no, it's cool, just have another one, that's cool, I'll just hang out for a little bit longer, and
Man.
then you're like,
Yeah,
all
that's
right.
that's a delicate balance because it's like, look, I understand what you're doing for us.
Yeah.
But what I'm gonna do,
Yeah,
Exact
I'm living. All right, I'm not compromised physically. I need you to understand. I'm still Ed.
Well,
that's where Dom comes in again.
compromised.
Oh, that's
physically.
the guy in the basement comes in. He's like,
I need out. Tag me out.
Yeah. Tom comes and hangs out.
Yeah.
Compromised physically. I think that's the best term I've ever heard before. I'm not compromised physically, so
you got to sandwich it though. You got to give her the props up front. You got to say, I understand what you're doing for us and the family. That's the bread. You know, like, all right, I'm giving you this. Here is the critique in the middle, but you got to stop acting like I'm pregnant too.
Like, you got to do the compliment sandwich.
And then that last piece, but I so appreciate
Yeah.
all the sacrifice that you're making while I'm sitting over here still get just somebody in this house got to get drunk. Otherwise, we'll be stressed out.
Yeah, we call it
I
research.
love you.
No,
There you
but
go.
see, for me, it was like that whole like year afterwards. Like I was just like, you go do whatever the fuck you want. Then it was it was like a reverse. Like I was up in the middle of the night. I mean, I was kind of taking, doing that like because I understood what you did. You couldn't do that. I mean, so I think it's a give and take. I think it's a balance.
It's definitely a give and
totally.
take.
the
But I feel
zen of life.
feel
Caitlin
like
has a full plan for January 1st. Once his
Yeah,
baby's
yeah,
born,
yeah.
she's
Oh,
out.
I feel like
One of
there's
the-
like no like it's like all like take now and like no give, and once the kid comes then there's like some like give and take, like then I can't, because like right now she's like in the car she's like, damn, she's like kicking and stuff, and I'm just like, sorry. Like, I'm like
I could only imagine.
yeah, right, I'm like,
Let's go
my
get some
bad.
ice cream.
Yeah, right.
Cool him
Yeah,
off.
that's basically like all it
I mean-
is. Like when she's like, I want some ice cream, you're like, done. We'll go
Okay.
get some ice cream. Like, you know?
So what are we drinking right now? This Pilsner.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the Pilsner.
Not tell me. I was waiting for the whole introduction.
I
I'm
know.
trying to be all civil over here. I saw Buzzy come in. I'm like, wait a minute.
We got
start
growlers on the table.
Right.
You ain't new to this.
I'm true to this. I wanted them to introduce they shit. Y'all already getting messed. I'm here now.
I needed it. I was like, I got to get back to normal. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, this is just our Pilsner.
It's pretty standard. It's a recipe that kind of Jeff worked out a long time ago. We've been kind of working on perfecting. I think this year we probably put more work into this recipe than any other one we've done. So it's a true lager. We let it sit and ferment. You know, it's at least 90 days until it goes into a keg. And then, goal is clear, crisp, clean, a little bit of bready.
That's on point. That is our pilsners
right.
generally this light?
Yeah.
Because I always drink them out of the dark bottle.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
they
right.
should be
No, they should be pretty clear and
clear.
golden like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 6.5%, so it's a little higher alcohol
What?
for a Pilsner.
Buzzy in the background.
Yeah,
Buzzy
when
in the
Buzzy
back
says,
with
"Oh wow," because I was like, "Wait, what?" I thought this was like a 5.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
should-
mean,
like,
like
normally
a
it would be
4,
around
8,
5,
5,
yeah.
like, but like
Nah, this
6,
Yeah, 6.5.
6.5.
Always, for some reason, have just always come out like a little higher alcohol than we've.
Yeah, we used to have horrible. It's called efficiency. You know, how many of the sugars can you get out into fermentable
Oh, it's
format.
dry.
So
Is it?
Yeah,
So
it's
is this
dry.
in that like? Is in that brute wave like where they're like like getting it.
It's like along those lines though, because it is dry and like crisp, and that's where a pilsner should be. But and then the brewed is like kind of like taking that just like way to the extreme and like getting it as crisp and dry as possible. So I actually had a really good brew when I was in Philly, and I bought the Crowler and was really wanted to bring it back for everyone to try because it was like really good. I've had a handful of them that were not like all that great, and this was so good. And
I know what we're doing tonight.
Well, no, because my drunk ass left it there. It's in Philly still.
Where were y'all drinking when you are in Philly? Did you get anything out? I mean, what are you?
We went to this place called Love City Brewing, which we went to a show. That was like the whole thing. My wife got me tickets to this show at Union Transfer, a really cool club, and like right behind it was a brewery that I'd never been to, and so I was like, let's go check that place out. And it's called Love City, and it was fantastic, man. Yeah. The people were so nice, except for when she made fun of me for saying pop instead of soda. She like totally pulled my phone.
Fucking uncouth.
But they were really nice. The beer was really good. It was a cool spot, man. So if anyone's out there in Philly, you should definitely check it out. Get out there.
Mad love, man. Shout out to P May if he listening. I mean, cause fam out there, got a lot of people's out. I don't know what the IUP. Well, you know how it is.
I lived in Philly for 2 years.
There,
that place has changed, but and that's the other thing about like learning to brew and kind of talking about what styles you're going to brew is Jeff and I travel a lot and getting out and finding those places you'd never seen and trying some of their beers and then talking to those brewers.
Yeah, you think like brewers know all the brewers. It's like if you're a brewer, you know everybody. Like it's like you know Fred, he brews over in like Kentucky.
Yeah, right.
It's like no,
I don't.
He was not at the meeting.
So what was the transition? Because you guys, your model, obviously, you're still brewing in the garage. You've licensed the garage. I'd like to ask questions about how that goes about. But you still have this novel. The novelty of it is, we're still kind of like a home brewing situation, but the quality comes out on that, a higher level. But where did you discover, like, all right, you got the homebrew kit and I can make beer. Where does it come in where you start making good beer?
Like probably like 6 years down the road. Like
not
what is the shift? What is the transition? What's the thing that snaps is like, oh, I can make this like good.
Yeah.
How did it go?
That's a good question.
How did it go from your wife being like, nah, we ain't doing this no more to this?
I don't think we don't think we're there yet by any means, but I think it's not necessarily a snap. It's a progression. I mean, I remember one of the first beers we brewed was a California Common we called Top Down, and remember the first kegs we did.
California Common, like a common West Coast.
It's based. Anchor Steam does the best example of it out in San Francisco. It was the style was developed in San Francisco, and what they used to do to let the beer cool is they'd put it on the roof of the brewery in big open containers, and the steam would rise off of it.
Sun.
Yeah. That's
one of the rumors, at least, and they called it steam.
So that beer got melanin.
So that beer, sunburnt beer.
Sunburnt beer. Yeah.
But I remember the first time we distributed that, and someone, the social medias are awesome, and someone posted a picture of it, and it just looked like mud. Which back then, I mean, so the hazy beer thing hadn't happened yet, so no one was into the hazy, opaque beers. Everybody wanted their beer clear, and we just sat back and said, "Oh, that is just shit. We can't do that." So, but it's just habit. It's a repetitive process. So just keep doing the same thing, refining one variable at a time. In that sense, it is very scientific, and eventually, as I said, we put a lot of work into this Pilsner recipe over the past year. So it's just adjusting one thing until you get it to where you like it.
Yeah, and it just comes from liking beer, right? So like when we got into making beer because we liked good beer, we got into craft beer, and you're drinking the good beers, and then you make the beer, and then you drink it, and you're like, fuck, this tastes like ass. Like, what did I do wrong?
A lot,
and so then you like have to like start working through it, and then if you just put the time into it. I think sometimes folks just don't want to put it. Like my wife, she was like, fuck that shit, I got better things to do. I'm not gonna try and figure that out. So
there's got to be a passion of some sort.
I
love it.
We joke about that on a regular basis because we both work full-time jobs, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and then we spend Saturday. We haven't had a Saturday off in 11 years because every Saturday for 12 hours we're in that brewery just staring at each other going, oh, what are we doing today?
Yeah. So, but so that's basically it. And then, we just like it. You like it too. And then you get to know everybody. Like once we got licensed, and we started selling to bars and restaurants, there weren't many, like independent brewing wasn't open yet. And Pete came to us and was like, we want to be all local and cover you. So we started selling there when he opened, and we were hanging out there. And then we got to meet other brewers who were opening up breweries through that. And like, got to know other folks who were like already kind of established, like Meg Evans and Scott Smith from like Rock Bottom and East End, and they start telling you stuff and helping you with things, and
being one of those ones that was that early. So we're talking like 2009 ish. A lot of people had the same idea. Like there were a lot of breweries in thinking, I guess, in planning. So people started to call and say, "Hey, we're thinking about doing this. Can we come over and
hang
shoot
out
the shit and see what's going on?" So like Andrew Witchy came over at one point from Dancing Gnome. We talked to him, and the guys from Brew Gentlemen stopped by. So the community was just growing then. So it was really easy to get to know everybody.
Yeah. I mean, so how do you figure out like the direction of like your product? I mean, because it's still two people, two different palettes. You know what I mean? And then like you also have a market, and you have like what's available, and there's a whole thing. So how do you, with two people, and it's not just two people, it's everybody. Like, it's a community of people like that. Like,
sure. So I think that quality has always been number one. I mean, regardless of what our situation looks like. I mean, it is a 2-car garage, cinder block, just looks like a mess, but we always agreed.
It doesn't look like a mess. I mean, it's organized chaos.
That is one way to put it.
It's taste.
This is clean. Like, that's all that matters. Damn the garage. This is clean.
It tastes organized, and it's causing chaos.
Yeah. So it's just quality. And Jeff and I do have different palates for beer, but that actually works out to our benefit because we can sit and talk about beers and say he may find something he hates, and I find something I like, and we come to a good middle road product. We also have a great community of neighbors and friends. So, we've always been one to tell people, don't blow smoke up our ass. Like, tell us if it tastes like shit. And we've got 2 or 3 friends that literally will tell us this tastes like shit. So,
you gotta keep one or two in your circle.
Right.
Yeah, don't watch me bomb and be like, great set.
Great set.
Yeah, exactly. I hate
that bothers me more than
that's the worst. That's bad friends do that.
People want to be nice though, but you're like, no, seriously, I can take it. Tell me what sucks on that and shit. And that's definitely good, because then sometimes you're just clouded by whatever kind of things. But then, like, I'm more traditional with beer, and Dom likes traditional beer, but, like, I'm, like, the guy that's, like, I want to make a Pilsner that's, like, a normal Pilsner, and Dom's like, let's take that Pilsner, and let's put some fucking lemon zest and some pomegranates.
Yeah. And I'm the guy who puts anything in anything.
Some tea and some pepper and a peach.
And we've had some bad beer because of that. We've also had some pretty good ones.
We had some good ones, too, yeah.
Pomegranate Saison, I think, was good. The rosemary thyme beer was not so much.
Yeah. Rosemary thyme beer.
No, rosemary thyme does not. That sounds like a bad Italian dish.
So what was going on in your life at that time where you woke up and was like, yo,
yeah, Dom,
I got one.
So meatball.
Rosemary thyme.
Well, I mean, so to be honest, like Jeff and I both like to cook, so it comes from that passion too. Making beers a lot like cooking, so it's just playing with flavors you like, and so you eat a meal and you're like, that's interesting, or you pair a beer with a meal, you're like, that's interesting. I want to do this. So our strawberry blonde came out. You also get inspiration from other breweries. We do a strawberry blonde in the summer that's based off a beer that I loved back in college. The rosemary thyme beer was one that came through. There's a traditional style called Groot, which is they don't use hops, they use herbs to bitter the beer. And I was trying to play in that style and never quite nailed it, so we don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But there is a joke. I'll put orange peel in anything.
I guess it depends on your palate though. I mean, there are like I could see people enjoying that. I mean, I could see something like a Bloody Mary or some kind of beer mosa type, like that kind of that clamato juice type shit.
You about to fuck up their friendship.
I feel like I feel like Mexicans and Puerto Rican, they might be into some shit like that. Because
I don't know if we got to edit that. I don't know.
because they have they mix the with the clamato and the tomato juice and shit like that, and the clam in that. So if you throw the rosemary thyme beer in that shit like that, there's a market for that. Like, I'm not the market for that shit, but there's a market for it if it's done well.
When you guys are talking about quality, it does. So the one founding principle I think we have is that I will take shit and get crazy with it, but we got to have a solid base beer down first.
Yeah.
So we take a recipe that we have that we know they nailed, and then Jeff will hand it to me and say, "Go fuck this up."
Yeah,
that's where the crazy shit comes out.
Yeah,
and then you got to play to the crowd too, right? I mean, so people, you're selling the beer ultimately, so you got to make shit that people are going to want to drink and whatnot. And then that's also one of the cool things that I like about beer and the whole community too, is like there's so many different people, and some of that shit you'll drink and you'll just be like, fuck, that's horrible. Like, I don't know how anyone can drink that. And then there's a whole group of people that just love that shit. Like,
well, it could be well done. It's just not, just not what I like. But if you do it well, that's fine.
Yeah.
So what is the situation room like between y'all, where it's like, all right, we got to come out with some new.
It's super organic, I think. I mean, we both back in the day. So we actually haven't written a new recipe in a while. Back in the day, we were just writing recipes like mad, like email all day long, like. Hopefully our jobs aren't listening. Like, hey, what about this? Hey, let's try this.
Oh, they got
hey,
them emails.
Yeah, right.
They got all that.
Yeah. So, but it's on the best side. Like, it's a brewer. Like, you have to go drink a lot of beer to know what you want to do. So we'll drink a lot of beer. Be like, that was really interesting. I want to try something like that. And then we'll sit down and like Jeff said, like, I'm the one that'll take it way overboard, and Jeff's my kind of check.
Yeah, I just
want
to like nail the style.
He
like,
cuts
really,
me off
like,
at some point.
Well, you got to know how to like do it right in order to like do it wrong.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
And I mean, like,
guess,
you know, if you know the rules, that's why I try to tell my daughter, I'm like, yo, you got to know, like, look, like, she wants to do all this, whatever. I'm like, look, let's just know the rules.
Yeah.
And then you can figure out when they apply. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, so.
Yeah, so I always go overboard, and Jeff kind of puts it back in check and says, well, maybe not that much, or maybe not that high ABV. And I'm like, all right, good idea.
And then you settle on a 6.5.
Yeah.
6.5 Pilsner.
Because I poured that because I thought it was like a 5. Like, I was like, oh, this is going to be 2 or 2. Let's start with the Pilsner.
Yeah.
Well, it just means we got to go to the stout
The
next. 'Cause
stout. That's actually
5.
5.2 or something.
5.2, and I think the New England, that's
The
a
New
big boy,
England's
that's
7-1.
See, I fucking talked myself into the wrong situation. I thought I was going light on that.
Yeah.
6.5. Damn.
Yeah. I mean, it could be worse, right? You know, we do some of our beers that are really
barley
big
wine
beers.
is 13%.
Yeah, the barley wine's a good one. But that's just that style.
Yeah.
So you just go for the style. And then, like, you know, I don't know. I'm just like talking dumb science or something.
Jeff will get all nerdy.
Yeah.
Real
Talking
quick. When
beer?
he'll get real nerdy on beer real quick.
I love that stuff. Like I was listening to your episode with the Leona's girls with Katie and Krista, who actually live a couple streets down from us and will come over a lot of times and hang out and drink with us.
So it's just
like,
beer and ice
science,
cream in that
beer and
garage.
ice
So
cream.
that's the coolest
Oh
garage.
yeah, it is. Yeah, there's a lot of like you can roll by and there's definitely a strong possibility that there's like a bunch of Leonas in the freezer.
Yeah.
And like they'll show up and they're so awesome. They'll just show up with either like a bunch of beer, a whole bunch of amazing like pies and cakes and shit, or like just a bag of like ice cream sandwiches, or like they rolled down the one time and like on their way somewhere and just like here and like handed us like a bunch of like ice cream. They were like at like a sampling thing or something, and like there's like a half a dozen or a dozen people like sitting there drinking, and they're just like, we just wanted to swing by. Here's all this shit.
Yeah.
And then they just
I mean,
roll.
that's good people, and that's what that's what we're in. This is the share economy, right?
Yeah, right.
Like, I mean, we're all money poor, but like we're rich in our art, our talent.
Resources,
I mean, and our
everywhere.
resources, whatever. I mean, and that's how we move forward, and like it is capitalism, but it's also socialism. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
totally.
that it's next to each other. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, and I think you're seeing more of that, like that message being spread. Like, it can't just be a couple people doing this shit. Like, you didn't build that. It's like, I mean, you got to bring in a community.
And that's always been really super important to us. I mean, and Jeff's a champion of this. Like wherever.
I don't think I'm a champion.
Well,
of
I
anything.
mean, we always want to be part of the community, right? So in Highland Park, being in a garage on a residential street on a one-way alley, like no one, people just search you out and find you. And we always, we played real nice with Highland Park to get licensed and tried to play real well with them. Went through a whole bunch of stuff, and even in the spot we're looking at, and that if we knock on wood build a brewery, I mean, it's been important wherever we find. Is to be part of the community. Go to the community first. Make sure that they knew who we were, what we were about, and then when we open, we also have a goal to give back to the community in some way. So having a charity tap or getting local charities every month that take a certain percentage of a certain tap, that's really important to us, and that's so it's not all about the brewery all the time, right? So it's about the community.
Big part.
Yeah, you'll be hanging out on a Saturday brewing, and at 3:00, 20 people show up, each bring like a different food or beer, and we'll have just a community gathering. It ends up being, like a little yard sale.
We end up with like some big parties in the alleyway, which is funny because when we first like I sent in the application to the state, and they send it to your local like council person, and they like called me and were like, they're like, you want to open a fucking bar in Highland Park? Like, and I was like, well, no, I want to open up a brewery in Highland Park. And they're like, you want to open a fucking brewery in Highland Park? Like, what the fuck?
And
then
like towers.
Yeah,
and
they were like,
and
and then they were awesome. Everyone in Highland Park was awesome, and we just had to like kind of talk to the folks and stuff, and they were like, that's cool, like as long as you don't have like a retail presence. And we're like, no, we're just gonna produce and then distribute. And they're like, yeah, we just don't want a whole bunch of people coming through because it is a residential neighborhood, right? And like, we get that, that's cool.
Yeah.
But now the funny thing is, like, we don't have a lot of like, we don't have a retail presence.
We have no
And
signage
but like every Saturday,
A bunch of people there.
yeah, like mostly everyone, folks from all over, but the bulk of them from Highland Park. Like,
If
so like
you
Highland Park just
know,
rolls
you
through.
know.
You know?
Right.
Yeah,
that club.
yeah. And then
We've had
hang
some
out.
interesting. I mean, we had a friend who had a food truck, and he occasionally would just pull the food truck up
Yeah.
out back, and all of a sudden the neighbors start coming out of their house. So
Yeah, buying food off the food truck and stuff.
right.
Which that food truck was good, man.
That is dope as hell, man.
Y'all found a loophole.
yeah,
True.
yeah.
I wish I lived in a neighborhood where there was a garage and a food truck like, with beer.
is-
Like, yeah, I mean, like, oh,
You're
Yeah, so-
definitely raising property value around there.
yeah.
Jeff
like
loves to hear all of this because it is his house. He lives there. So like, we will do this. We will talk about this, or in articles they'll mention our like Saturday party, and inevitably, like 2 weeks later, like 10 dudes will roll up that we don't know, and like.
Yeah, they just drive down.
I mean, when we started the brewery, Highland Park, the area that it was not necessarily a great area, right? There was a lot of crime there. There was
all the
squatter
houses
across
across
the
the
street.
end.
So Highland Park, like I used to live over there. Highland Park was like weird as shit because you had like straight like abject poverty right next to like fucking
like
like
$1
million dollar homes.
right,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like I lived on Negley, and like Negley was cool as shit, but right in the fucking alley
Right
on the
back
back
behind
was
you.
like, don't motherfucker. Like
Right, yeah.
my roommate actually parked his fucking bike in the front all the fucking time on Negley. He left that. We had a garage in the back. He
1
left that
hour out
bitch
back.
one time in the back.
Yeah.
It's fucking gone or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he was also a dickhead, like, like revving it up all hard, like, and it was like, and we were like, yo, you you hot, bro. Like, you know what I mean? And I think he did it. I think they did it just because he was being a dickhead.
Right.
Like, come on, man. Every time you come out, you're like, and all. I was like, all right, bro. But anyway, like, it was all that, like, and I don't know, I haven't been down there since. I know
It's crazy.
East Liberty is now the East End. So
Yeah.
like, what is it?
Charging
Like,
it up.
what's the scene down there now?
It's totally different. I mean, like the alleyway that we're on. So like the garage itself, my house was a plumbing company. So I have this huge garage. When you say garage, it's not like just a little 2-car garage. It's like, I don't know, it's like 80 feet long by like 50 feet wide, and it's massive. And so we partitioned off a section of it. And but like when we moved in, everything was abandoned. The alleyway where the garage doors are that we were in, Dom and I would sit there back then, and all the houses across the alleyway
All
from us
squatter
were
houses.
all abandoned and run down. We used to actually just dump our grain in the backyard of these places because they were just overgrown, full of shit, and like nothing there. And
I mean, it wasn't weird for us to see, like, I mean, we had someone just tied up a dog out back at one point, found guns back there. I mean, that's what was, I mean, we'd see police all the time. Like, it was just not, and so, like, we'd see people roll up to the brewery, and Jeff and I would slowly slink back into the brewery, be like, who is this motherfucker? and then
there was a lot of good
"Is this
people in the
CoStar?"
neighborhood back then. I had really good neighbors. I had some really nice
for sure.
neighbors, some really good folks, but it was just a different neighborhood. Now, all those houses are all redone. They all sold for $400,000 plus. Some of them are now selling for like $500,000-$600,000. And honestly, like, I'm like the shithead on the block now, and I always worry, like, when these people come in and buy like a $500,000 house, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna like hate us. We're in the alleyway drinking and shit, and
But there's
you know.
a food truck there.
Yeah.
food truck,
But actually,
right?
everyone that's come in now has been really cool. And like literally, like, I guess the real estate agents know about us because they'll be like, they'll come down the alleyway and they're like, are you the brewery? Is this the brewery that's in Highland
I'm
Park?
pretty sure they're telling them.
Oh, they're definitely
Yeah.
telling
that
you
you're a selling point. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. And I mean, I hear the stories, like, you know, with Trogs or whatever again. And like, we're like, you know, when we look at black communities and establishing like a black middle class neighborhood in Pittsburgh, a black owned brewery goes so far in that.
Yeah, for
You know what
sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, you know, the type of people that like, you know, coming in and want to invest, like, you know, in that city, like, it's hard to bring people in if you don't have something that people want to do, and
Right.
people want to
Yeah.
do what y'all.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so anybody can, and that's going back to like anybody can make beer. Anybody can make good beer if it's the time, and it's not. You don't need $1 billion, right? You can buy a homebrew kit. I mean, it wouldn't be bad to have $1 billion. So we've been in a garage for 12 years because of this, but right, we would have moved out a long time ago if we had $1 billion.
We had it backwards. We were like, we'll just make good beer and hang out with cool people, and then
something will happen,
and then then someone will lend us money or something, and then we're like, no, that doesn't work that way. It's like you can hang out with cool people and then you could just hang out with cool people forever. Go fuck yourself.
So how long have you guys been brewing?
We got licensed in 2011.
Yeah, we've been brewing for 12, 15 years, something like that now. And we got licensed to sell beer in 2012 is when we got our license. We started planning this at my wedding.
Literally as he was walking down the aisle.
We had been brewing for a long time, and then literally I was waiting for my wife to come walking down the aisle.
Caitlin still lets me hang out with you.
And Dom,
I can't either.
I know. And Dom's literally
weird.
just grabbing me. He's like, Jeff. He's like, you know what? And we were all drinking.
We had
so
had
we were
some
probably
whiskey.
already drunk.
The Henny was flowing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Dom's just like, we can do this. I think we can fucking do it. Let's do it. And I was like, all right, man, but I'm gonna do this right now.
Go get married
I'm
real
gonna
quick.
I'm gonna get married real quick, and then we'll talk about this shit afterwards. And he was like, oh yeah, okay, cool. And then he walked down. Then my father-in-law yelled at me to fix the runner on the aisle. That was a crazy day.
So it all started out as what year did you get married?
That was 2011.
So it would have been 2012 we got licensed.
Yeah, so that was November. I think we had incorporated by the end of that year, and then we got our license the next year in 2012.
So now with the licensing being in a residential neighborhood, what extra hoops did you have to jump through? I mean,
it's really weird because there's really not a lot of hoops to jump through. I went to the PLCB website, and Dom and I were looking through all the stuff out there, and they're really the only thing that I was like, all right, what kind of size walls and drains and electrical outlets do we have to have and all this shit? And the only thing it really says is you can't be within I think it's 300 feet of a church, a school, a playground, or a hospital. And other than that, there's no regulations. I remember calling
300 feet?
300 feet, yeah. And I remember calling the PLCB and being like, so part of it is you have to have an inspection, right? The PLCB agent comes out and on top of there's a stack of paperwork you got to go through. And I was like, well, what do I need so that when the inspector comes out, I'll get that shit done so he can come and look at it and we don't waste anyone's time. And they're like, no. He'll just come out, just set up a date, and he'll come out and look at your shit. And I'm like, but I know, but what does he need to see?
Was he looking for?
Yeah. And they're like, he'll just come out and look at it, and that's legit what he did. He rolled out and was like,
good old Ed.
He's like, this is one of the smaller ones I've seen, but it'll work. That's cool. And we hadn't. The one thing that you have to have is it can't be connected to a residence. So I had to build a wall so that you literally have to it's 3 garage doors, 3 bays that they had for the plumbing trucks. So the 2 of them we walled off to make the brewery, so that you now have to physically walk out the one garage door and actually leave my house and then walk through the other garage door to get into what is the actual brewery.
Loophole.
That was that was the only
You got
thing.
animals?
What's that?
You got animals?
Dogs.
So you gotta have that.
Yeah.
That whole shit.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So that was it. The wall wasn't built at that time when he came out, and we were like, we're gonna put the wall up, and he was like, okay. He's like, call me when you do, and I'll come out and sign off on everything. They were
the
really
licensing was the easy part. I think the community was the other part. So we had to go, and like I said, we wanted to be part of the community. So literally call the community and said, hey, this is what we're doing. They literally had us. So we showed up to one of their community council meetings, presented what we were doing, fielded questions, and walked from there feeling pretty good. Everybody was pretty
stoked.
supportive. Yeah.
So yes, we
want a brewery.
Yeah.
We want that.
There was one guy. I mean, there's always one guy, but
yeah. We did the same thing.
Did
So
they move him out?
no, he's still around.
He's still there.
Jerry
He's-
from down the street?
Yeah,
He's
he's
changed
actually a
a
good
bit.
guy,
Yeah.
but he was just he's like, it's gonna stink. It's just gonna smell like a frat house.
When do you
Wait,
go outside and
I
smell
was
a
going to
frat
ask
house?
you what was his complaint like?
That was it. He was like, it's gonna stink. I was like, we've legit been doing it. We've been doing
did
it for
he say
years
that?
already.
Right.
Yeah,
Did he say that he's gonna stink?
It's gonna stink. Well, first thing he said was, I hate beer, and then he was like,
This
it's gonna
starts well.
stink. It's gonna smell like a frat house. And
But literally, we had been
that
doing it
is
for
a-
3 years already. So he's already smelling.
That is a real. I thought it might have been more community based, like gentrification and like. I mean, he's like, it's gonna stink.
yeah,
like,
exactly. No, it was, yeah.
Oh, that's how many feet does he live? Like, how close is he to
He's
the brew?
like he's like, there's the alleyway, and then the next two streets down from there, I think, is where he is. So he's not very close. But everyone just like imagined in their mind, they like think brewery, and they just thought, Budweiser, like something massive, like smokestacks, billowing shit out and everything. And it's like, no, we're just like two dudes with a couple of kettles, and that's it, man. So it actually smells really good.
It smells like baking bread.
Yeah, you walk in when we're actually brewing, it smells like, depending upon what you're doing, but it smells like bread or something.
Bacon porters, bacon porters, bacon porters, bacon porters.
So even in the new property, so I don't know, some of your listeners may know that we bought land over in Etna, so we have land over there.
You bought what?
Up 28.
Up 28, yeah, right where 28 and 8 meet, right on Butler Street in Etna. We have two empty lots there that we've been working with for. When this podcast comes out, it'll be about a year. Overcarbonated stout.
Brew activity up 28.
Full. Yeah.
What are we getting into now?
This is the stout.
This is
oatmeal stout.
This is the stout. So you guys talk a lot about community, a lot about collaboration. Is that where the CoStar name came from?
That's just a dumb coincidence. When we were filling out the paperwork, we needed a name for the brewery. Ooh, you can don't spill it on the Hennessy cupcakes.
Oh, that might turn into something fantastic.
That may actually be
fantastic. Yeah, man. Just let it happen over here. We just be letting shit happen.
The powers that be wanted it to happen. The beer god said,
stumble into a motherfucking some shit.
Now we'll do Hennessy Stout. All right, now I'm gonna go fuck with the stout.
That'd be really good.
Hey,
that would be awesome.
We've been talking about some shit.
I'll fuck up some Henny.
So we've been talking about some shit.
Some good shit.
The blackest shit.
The blackest shit we've ever done.
So no, but CoStar is not like everybody tries to find all these hidden meanings. Like, is it because there's two of you and like you guys want to be a star? No, it's the name of the goddamn alley that we're in.
Yeah.
The alley is CoStar Way.
Yeah. So like I'm like. Zeke's Coffee? Do you guys know Zeke's Coffee? So like the guy Chris who runs that is actually my brother-in-law's cousin, and my brother-in-law runs one down in DC. And so there was like some festival that he was doing, and we were just in the process of getting licensed. We weren't licensed yet, but he was like, "Can you make a beer with my coffee for this event?" And we were like, "Yeah, totally." And we're like, "We'll do that." And like that was that. And then like he was like came to us again and was like, he's like, "Oh, I'm doing like press. I need to know what's your brewery called." And we were just like, "Oh, fuck." And it was like, "We need a name. Like we got to put this stuff out." And we were just like, CoStar Brewing?
Sure, that's it.
All right. Like I wish there was like something really cool and like fun and like.
But I mean, that's a dope ass name though, and it's a dope ass story. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's like it's timeless.
It's really weird when people drive. Yeah, when people drive down, like they'll try and find us and they'll be like, "I had no fucking clue where you were," and then I looked up and I saw the street sign. I was like, "That's got to be where they were," because it's a 1 block alley. There's no extension. Like it is our block, and that is it.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all took over the block.
Basically, yeah.
And
if you look up the brewery, like you can find my address, like it's on like the PLCB website, like all that stuff has to be published, but you have to like kind of look for it. So we've had people look for it, and we're on St. Clair Street, like that's my address. The alleyway is CoStar, and we literally had like this guy come up from Virginia looking for us. And he was like, "I went to your front door, and we were in the alleyway brewing. There was nobody up there." And he's like, "And I didn't see anything, and I just drove by." He's like, "I made the corner, and I saw the sign that said CoStar." And he's like, "So I came down, and there you are." And they found us, which
it happens more often than not.
We probably shouldn't even be putting that out. It's just like random people showing up. Like we got enough.
I was
going to
ask how comfortable are you with this exposure? I mean, everyone's information is out there, to some degree, but like. Yours is,
and people just got to understand it is Jeff's house. He lives there, so like we do have people occasionally show up. I found you on Untapped. There's a map there, and the Brewers Guild has us on the map, so you can find it. And people do show up, and
they've all been nice.
Yeah, the brewing community is cool too.
There was like my
Bring
wife
beer because we generally don't have.
Came
beer.
home from like shopping one day. Like I was at work, she was off, and she's like rolling up with like grocery bags to the front door, and there's just like a random dude like knocking on our door, like, "Is this the CoStar Brewery?" Meanwhile, it's like ridiculous too, because like if you walk up to my front door, it just looks like a shitty old house.
Wait, you
like,
live at the brewery?
Yeah, like you're like, it's no way this is like a brewery.
Yeah, that would be a weird like having motherfuckers randomly like walk up to my door, because I don't like uninvited like there's certain times where I was like if my lawn is a little big, then like a kid will be like, yo, like, you want me to mow that shit? I kind of expect that. It's election time. I could see motherfuckers coming through or whatever.
That's when I hate it the most.
You can at least expect that shit. When a motherfucker, you just like chilling and the motherfucker just like knocking on your door like, hey, yo, can I get some beer?
I mean, you also make beer though, so you
that's what I'm saying.
You
Like,
also make it. So
I mean, we don't hate on it. Like when the guys, we generally try to be like, if you roll by on Saturday, like
between these hours,
see us in the alleyway.
Are they usually pretty cool? Like, you'd be like,
everyone's been really cool. We've had many people come by. We have a lot of people that call us now too and are like, I want to do the same thing, like I want to get a little setup in my garage, and they like come by and want to talk to us about stuff, and which is fine.
And our main advice is don't.
I know
you can't be us. Tell them you can't be us.
I feel so cliche like saying that, like I feel like that typical guy, like the first thing I say when people tell me that they want to do what we did is I'm like, don't do it, man. And like it's like it's so stupid, but it is kind of shitty because we definitely did it ass backwards. Like, I mean, these guys that are coming out now and stuff, they have their stuff like, so they're so much smarter than us. Like they go out and they get their financing shit locked down and everything, and they come out and they do it because it's really not economical the way we do it. Like we were just doing it for fun. We never had any intentions of being like big brewers or pro brewers or doing this for a living, and so like it didn't even like enter our mind to like go out and buy like $500,000 worth of equipment and get investors. We were like, well, just do this little shit and
see
then
what happens.
But
eventually, maybe something.
That's economical though, right? Because you're still producing the product without that upfront cost.
Yeah, and we have no investors and no debt, so like it's not like
that is the most economical. What do you mean this is not economical?
It doesn't pay us anything. So like on Wednesday nights when Dom and I are like worked like 10 hours at the job, and then we come home and change and
gotta go keg
down in the garage kegging and cleaning kegs for like another like 5 hours and shit, and then we're down there all day Saturday, and it's fun. I mean, we love it, but like it'd be nice if it could like when we're like, fuck, if like why do we do this again? Like if we could get a paycheck from this and do like just this, that would be so awesome. Or like just have our weekends back or something. But,
right. So
but we still love it.
The way we do it, and any brewery knows this. Like the keg distribution you make the least money. The brewery, as it currently sits, just makes enough to stay sustainable, so it pays for itself, and that's it.
Yeah.
So the money,
buy some new shit, buy some growlers.
Yeah, growlers and equipment replacement, whatnot.
But as you can see, we don't have fancy branded growlers. We just get the generic shit. And, so.
But yeah, so it's just financial enough to stay stable. The financially sustainable long term goal, what takes Jeff and I out of our full time jobs and working in the brewery, is a tap room and a 5 to 10 barrel system. In Etna,
which we're finally moving down the line to. We've been like stubborn, I guess, too, for lack of a better word. Like we didn't want to we've had individuals over the years. We've had many folks, luckily enough, like it's been nice enough. We've had folks come to us and say,
I got money.
I'll give you,
willing to invest.
But then you're like, and we never even got that far down the conversation.
What do you want from
inevitably,
me?
They're like, okay, so we'll take 95% ownership. We'll build you a brand new building or buy you $500,000 worth of cool shit, and you can brew and be a brewer and make a living at it. But you own 3% of the company, and Dom and I have just always been like, it's literally like Dom and my wife and I. And
if we're going to do this is going to be the long-term plan, and we're going to own 100% of it.
Yeah.
We're going to do this for us and keep it in the family. Well, as much as
we're going to keep it in the family. We're going to have to, unfortunately, we're going to have to give away some, we're going to have to sell some of it, like a small portion. But Dom and Caitlin, my wife and I, will always own at least 51% of the company. But that's the only thing, so we got the building set up kind of squared away now, and now we got to go through and figure out what we're going to do to get the money for the equipment. And banks just hate us. So they're all like, I fucking hate bankers. I just hate them. I'm sorry.
Bankers and architects. That's what Jeff
Not
hates.
personally. There's a lot of really nice bankers out there and stuff, but they're just, are you a banker?
Ed?
Yeah.
But not personally. There's a lot of nice guys.
But
and women,
I
guys and
hate
girls.
bankers too. It's okay.
But they're just I get it.
Oh, well, you know what?
Yeah, I mean,
Fuck y'all.
As Jeff is saying, it's like
I know some exceptions that prove
Dom's
the rule.
Oh shit! Jeff just fucked
I'm
us.
out. I'm not.
Ed,
let's go do something.
If I was going to generalize, it would be like fuck bankers.
I think you should fuck. It's more fuck the banking system because
That's
you're
exactly
just the face of the
well,
banking system.
in industries such in a lot of industries, retail being one, the face that you see they're just always acting out their job function.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
Most of the bankers that people sit in front of are just like, look, I got these protocols, policies that I got to follow.
You gotta do.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to make this exception for you so you can get the fuck away from my desk. I just can't do that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But
Like,
you're
that's
right.
how
It is.
people-
It's not the bankers. It's the system because it like irritates me when you go to them for like a loan for like $200,000 and they're like, "Do you have $200,000?"
No, motherfucker, I wouldn't be coming to $200,000.
I know, and they're like, "Well, sorry, man. We need like this collateral, and if you want $200,000 loan, we need to see like $100,000 sitting in the bank." And you're like, "Well, I didn't ask for fucking $100,000. I asked for $200,000." And it's just the system. There are like everybody always says that too, and I guess I'm just.
Well,
like,
you got to stop hating bankers and talk to them.
I mean,
like, they're
all
like,
right,
"Oh, show
we
you
gotta
ways
start talking
around."
afterwards. Right? Me and you.
Ed Bailey, the financial advisor for CoStar.
I think there's, I don't know, man. I don't know much about the banking system or whatever, but I mean, I think like any system, you have to find like responsible ways of doing that. There are some responsible ways of banking, and there are some just straight cutthroat fucking like trying to like just get as much as possible and leave folks out of the wind type shit. And I think that like, if you even in banking, if you start to get to like we've already connected America with China, like we can talk to each other. Like so now we're like. Now it's local. It's like, all right, it's real people. Let's get back to this now. Now if you have responsible banking, if you're like with community type, like, like where, like I said, you're building value in the neighborhood around you. Yeah. I mean, like those houses, like your property value is raised because of your presence, even though like, you're maintaining, but in the long, like you're still raising, like not even just of your home, but of the
whole place. I mean, that's
so
why
like
everybody we talked to about where we want to try to like when we were looking for a new place to move, like we were looking at buying a building in Etna, and I reached out to the manager who's awesome. The whole community in Etna is awesome.
Yeah, Etna's amazing.
And they were like, I was like, I just want to see like we're gonna buy this building, or but we're gonna put a brewery in there, and I want to make sure you guys are cool with a brewery being in the town, because if not, we're not going to buy the building. Like, we don't want to try and fight you over this shit. Like, we'll just go look somewhere else. And they were like super cool. And they were like, that's awesome. And like, she was like, literally like, she's like, that's number one on my list. She's like, I want a brewery in the town, because like, it just brings people into your town. Right. I mean,
they've
people
got a nice arts
travel.
community over there already. So
they have a great arts community.
Arts community over there is phenomenal. And like, so they were looking to develop that Main Street front.
So is it just a 2-man system? You don't have folks like in there helping around? There's no,
just us.
That's why Caitlin's pregnant. Jeff's breeding the employees.
Okay. Teach them young. Get them in that trade early. Get them that apprenticeship.
She's still little. You just attach
Stick her right in the keg.
scrubbies to her hands and feet and toss her in there and start crawling around. Scrub
That's
that
what
down.
ownership is. What was it? Was that Dame Dash on the Breakfast Club when he went off the low? You can't give it to your son. Do you own it? You don't own it if you can't give it to your son.
you got to get like the swath, that whole thing swath. That's also a scrubby.
Right. Just like
just move around. I mean, while we
this kid has
it's a
no
ride
idea
for her.
What's coming.
OSHA's gonna be in the alleyway like next weekend. Like, all right, where's that fucking kid? This is not approved. CYS is down there. Like, nope.
I heard you were washing kegs with your kid.
there was like there's a neighborhood. There's a bunch of neighborhood kids, but there's one kid that really got into like hanging out with us when we were brewing a lot, and really nice kid, and was like, let me help him, let me do this. He was like 8 years old, and he's cool, and his folks were nice.
That's science.
Right, yeah. Well, then like he comes in the one day, and I'm like, hey man, like I'm like cleaning up or something. I'm like, how's it going? And he's like, oh, it's good. He's like, I was just in school, and I'm like, how's school doing? He's like, yeah. He's like, told my teacher about hanging out with you guys and how I'm making beer. And I was just like,
don't do that.
I'm like,
don't do that.
I don't know if that's good.
We licensed now.
I know. I'm like,
we're licensed now, little man.
I was just like, you didn't tell her you were drinking any beer, right? Like, I mean, you told her like, I give you pop. Like, you drink pop when you're down here, and like that's it. Like,
kid learned about snitches getting stitches real quick.
but like that's what's dope, because like Apa's dropped like fizzy pop, like fizzy mead or whatever. Like it was just like it was a non-alcoholic mead or whatever, and you can do like ginger beer and like there's brewing, like there's non-alcoholic, like, and that's the thing, like I don't like non-alcoholic beer, right? Like
Yeah.
just like
What's the
beer
point?
or whatever. But like ginger beer and like this thing, like you
Yeah.
could brew something
Root
that
beer.
that's
I love
non-alcoholic or low ABV that I will
Yeah.
like kombucha or whatever.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
like
yeah.
you could brew something that's low
good.
ABV or no ABV that I will like.
Yeah.
I just don't want an IPA that doesn't have alcohol
Yeah, right.
in it. Like,
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that to
I
myself.
mean, seriously, some breweries do some of the best, as Jeff says, pops in Philly. They say soda. I mean, Appalachian in the
Pittsburgh,
Harrisburg area,
man.
they do one of the best root beers ever.
Oh,
so
yeah,
when
their
you
root
go
beer is
there,
delicious.
like Jeff will go, or I'll go back to Harrisburg, and like I got to bring like 2 cases back.
Yeah. So we'll totally have like root beer on tap. I mean, we'll have other taps like, we'd love to have, Apis on tap and those guys and do all that stuff. And we keep like, I always have like a case of Coke and Sprite and water and stuff because
Yeah,
like
kids are always coming
just
through.
come by,
There's-
like
Well,
like,
yeah, you're
we have
in the neighborhood. You
popsicles.
are
Yeah, we
residential.
have like the little push pops in the freezer. Like my neighbor's kid came out the other day. He's like, I need a popsicle.
Yeah.
I'm like, you need a popsicle? He's like, right to the freezer, grab a popsicle.
Jeff and I are of
So-
the age where there are 0 people left in our circle of friends without wives and kids, except for myself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so
But
in
so-
that other part of life.
Yeah, so
we all
like,
good now.
but on Friday, like literally, like even if just our circle of friends stops by, and we've got 6 kids in the brewery, like at all times. Like we used to joke, I used to drive a pickup truck, and everybody thought I had the pickup truck for the kids. Like I would literally just open all the windows and the doors, and the kids would spend hours in the truck. So, but it's that community aspect, right?
Yeah, kids like pickup trucks apparently.
So is that one of the apprehensions to moving and opening a facility, losing that kind of community?
There's definitely that concern. I feel like, yeah.
We talked about that. I mean, I think we'll keep the garage will always be something like a test room, like or our experiment area, hopefully. But we've also been pretty active in letting people know where we're going. It's just across the river. I mean, it's less than a mile, I think.
I guess from
it's
Highland
clarified.
Park,
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
bad
And
at
then
all.
Jeff and I just spending time in Etna, like that's a whole new community we get to engage, which is awesome, right? So
Yeah.
arts community over there, it's a whole new crew.
Yeah.
Our crew will follow us, hopefully.
Hopefully. Like, we always joke about that because, like, you don't pay for beer when you come down to our place. Now you just hang out and drink. So well, most of it is like beer that people bring, or like beer that
bring
we've
beer.
made, or beer that we bought, or something. I mean, it's just everyone hangs out. And
community.
Jeff
Yeah.
and I nearly went
so I'm like, are they
bankrupt.
Are they gonna actually show up when we like make them pay for the beer? Like, I don't know.
We used to buy beer and stock the brewery with beer. So when people showed up on Saturdays, like you could come and you could have a good beer.
Yeah.
And we nearly went bankrupt doing that. Like it was like 3 craft cases a week.
Yeah, you gotta have your limits.
So then we just started like buying 30 packs of like Miller Lite, and then people were like rolling by and they're like,
Hams.
why am I drinking
Hams.
Miller Lite?
Yeah,
I did the ham.
Yeah,
That actually-
Hams is
Hams
good,
is
man.
good, man.
Oh,
I'll do that.
crush
Hams
some
is
Hams.
the Hams is the like brewers.
That is
It's
the
good,
Brewers
man.
Miller Lite.
Yeah,
I love that stuff. I'll crush some
I fucking
hams,
crush some hams.
PBRs,
Yeah.
some Jenny. We
I
have
love
Jenny.
Cream
PBR.
ale.
I love a good PBR.
Yeah, good PBR.
I still
Jenny
love.
cream ale.
I still love MGD, man.
Yes, I will
Man.
fuck
The little
up some
pony
MGD.
bottles late at night on an after hours. You can't
Man,
get
that's some good
it.
shit.
Yeah, I didn't have it.
Yeah.
You know what? I was in New Jersey for the first time, and I like went to the bar, and everybody was like, "Oh, New Jersey." I was in college, and everybody was like, "Oh, New Jersey's so expensive." And I was like, "What?" So I went to the bar, and I got like a 6-pack for like $6. I was like, "Oh, this is cheap as fuck." Like, what did they mean?
Yeah.
And when I got back, it was fucking pony bottles. I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Like, I just like they just threw it in a bag or whatever. I was like, "Yeah, I mean," I went home. I was like, "Yo, what the like?"
Yeah.
Oh,
I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Like, so
You get
I
what you
did,
pay for.
why does that even exist?
Yeah.
After hours.
so they can fool you.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
they can take your money.
so they can get that
disappoint.
6 out you.
It was
You
a
came in with a no. You were coming in with a hard no, like this is gonna be too expensive. You walked out like I just found a gem. You was like they hustle manned you. Like well, hustle man gave Tommy that pizza on Martin.
He was counting money that night. He's like, and this is Dave Racy's money. That was good.
They hustled you, bro. They got you. Yeah, I don't. So hams, I didn't really drink a lot of. I mean, I drank before I got into craft. Budweiser. My uncle used to drink Bud. You know, when you young, you had
Yeah,
the 40s
sure.
OE and stuff like that. But like, I got to college and my entire beer experience for college was Coronas.
Oh yeah, man.
And I just
That's not a bad experience.
Corona. Well, it's just because it was the beer that women would drrink,
Yeah,
and it
right.
was
And it's like,
$5.
You can
I could
crush
afford
Coronas, man. It's
I
so
could
good.
afford the Corona.
Yeah,
She
right.
would drink
Yeah.
the Corona.
No, it wasn't even like about being in the beer thing. It was like an image thing. It was like,
Oh, it was about the
I'm gonna
tail.
get the little lime in that
Yeah.
bitch.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
I'ma
when I
be
found
there,
out you
like-
could put the lime in and then flip it,
flip it, yeah.
Like, I got magic tricks.
Doing tricks
There's a show with this.
You take your thumb off and it like pops.
and it pop a little bit. The first couple times though, it fizz and run out. You run
Yeah, but you got to make sure it don't pop in her face. If it pops and it gets her in the eye,
That's the only time.
Yeah.
That's the end of that right there.
Curtains.
That's a whole other story.
Always point away.
So it's funny hearing about you guys. 'Cause I hear Day talk about it a lot, and the brewers talk about like their non-craft experience. So you're talking about the MGD, the hams,
sure.
and things like
Yeah,
that. Like,
right,
what is it
yeah.
about those particular, like a hams or an MGD, that? Because a lot of brewers, in my understanding, just have the one, for example, non-craft that they would enjoy. So what has to be in that non-craft for you to be like, I'll still, like, I'm not going to be bougie about this?
I don't know that it's necessarily particular. I mean, if I can find it, so I live in Morningside and I hang out at the Bulldog Pub a lot, and Narragassett's the beer there. You know, I don't know necessarily look at anything. It's, you know, if I want to sit around and have like 6 beers and not feel like shit the next morning.
Yeah, it's like the lawnmower beer. Like
lawnmower beer.
And like,
Crushable.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a crushable beer that actually still has like some flavor. Like hams taste good, man. Like I don't know. It's like got like a good, like, you know, it's got good body, good mouthfeel. It tastes good, but it's like light. There's nothing. It's not 7%. You know, it's not like
We're also
super
not trying to
hoppy or super sweet. Like it's just like when you just want to like kick back and like kind of just like,
I mean,
something that you can forget about almost. Like you can just like forget about it. You just like fuck it.
You'll go fucking
It's
bankrupt.
not the main
driving.
event.
You'll go
right?
bankrupt buying craft beer as much as some of us drink beer. I mean, you got
So
at
that's
some
where I'm
point
getting, like I'm over, and the reason I ask is I'm getting like overly bougie. Like I won't buy anything but craft.
Yeah, sure.
Like I won't buy, but so, and I feel like my non-craft purchase on beer would be like, I'll just get Great Lakes. I love Great Lakes.
Oh, I
But
love
it's
Great Lakes.
I mean, I think if you
still
went down,
crafty, though.
yeah, craft. I
I
think
mean, it's still craft.
I get what's on
Jenny
sale.
Cream Ale, Narragansett, hams, like those are just standards.
try
like,
hams.
and it also
Straubs.
it also
Straubs are great.
Straubs. It also goes back to some of that's nostalgia. Like I know I drink
Right.
Jenny Cream Ale because that's like what a family member used to drink, and I remember that was like my first sip of beer. I'm like, I just like that beer, and it just happens to be a decent beer, and it's cheap. So
See, my story like that is Bud, and I just can't.
I'm done doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
can't.
I don't
can't
want to support
drink
it
Bud
yet.
anymore.
If I can stay out of that AB InBev, Miller Coors family, you know, that's obviously the
that's
goal.
what I'm saying. Like,
that's-
I mean,
I'm
like
not gonna go
a good Lion's Head. Yeah, I mean,
I drink
like,
a lot of Iron City. I love
Iron City.
Iron City.
great.
I like
yeah.
Icy Light is one of the few. Like that was the only light beer that I would drink because
Yeah.
it had like it had
has,
flavor.
like, flavor to it, so
Yeah,
yeah,
I
there's
mean,
something
yeah,
to it, yeah.
like
I did get a 6-pack of cans of like IC because you know when you go to some of these local bars,
Yeah.
they don't have
Yeah,
the
right.
craft.
Yeah,
you
no,
gotta
I-
have
yeah,
something
you got
like
something that you
I
don't
found
really need
myself
on the
like
top.
having to skip the local bar. Like I would go and be like, man, this is y'all ain't good enough, and walk out the store.
nah,
I'm just
man,
like,
if you got like
Sometimes you walk into that bar too, and you're like, this is not a place where I'm gonna ask for like a fucking dogfish head or something. You're just like,
oh yeah, well you know from
can
the
I
gate.
get? I'll take an Iron City. You're
Yeah,
like,
you know
Yeah.
from the gate.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you walk in and the cooler's right by the front door.
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
ain't here to sell beer.
Yeah.
They're here to get you to buy liquor.
Have you had this fucking this cupcake and then the stout pairing?
Oh, that's probably a good idea.
Holy fuck! I'm telling you, man,
cupcake
we be
is doing that beer favors.
stumbling onto some shit. Like it
Yeah.
just like it like all that Henny, and then you get that dousing, and then all that it enhances all
Henny
the
stout.
all that flavor on
Henny
the stout.
sour.
is
We going
fucking
Henny
great.
stout.
This Henny stout
Oh.
back and forth.
do the
is-
dip in. They just got to dip the cupcake.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm
I don't know if
I
you
ain't a
put
dipping dude
bread
though.
in-
Like I don't even dip my cookies in the
Oh,
milk.
yeah,
So like
I
I never dip cookies
I like
in
the
milk.
I'm not a
yeah.
cookie and milk.
But I
Yeah,
always dip
I'll
fries
follow it.
in barbecue sauce. I
Well,
always.
that's
do.
fucking delicious.
Yeah, fries and barbecue. Yeah, I'll dip fries into that.
Or
But I
fries
ain't
in your
I don't-
Wendy's frosty.
Wendy's
Did you ever do
fries.
that?
I was just going there.
Right. People
We're
be
there.
sleeping on that combination.
People don't know about
I will go to Wendy's, order a large fry and a frosty, and just be
Yeah.
sitting
You
out
just
at
eat
the
the
park,
fucking-
just
yeah.
fucking getting and feel my
like-
stomach expanded. I don't give a shit. It's good as hell. I don't
So
understand this
good.
combination. And put extra salt on them fries.
Yeah,
yo.
exactly. That's like it. You always want to like sprinkle the salt on the fucking frosty and then just scoop that shit out with the fry. It's like awesome. It's like sugar on your Cheerios, man. There's as much on there as you can.
Tell us about the stout.
That's our oatmeal stout, which I I mean, what is it? 5.2, I think is it. Yeah, oatmeal. Just we don't name any of our beers. Like the Top Down was our first one that we ever like, and we were like, we got to name beers, and then we were just like, fuck it, that's too hard.
Y'all don't like that process of naming.
No.
It's like difficult. Like I'm
So
fucked
this is
now
this
trying
is
to
called,
name
this
my
is called
daughter.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever you stood in front of a beer cooler and all you see is names and you have no clue what the fuck's in it, so you got to pick up a bottle or a can and look at it and turn it around and figure out what style it is. Like,
Right.
I mean, we just stay away.
That's
Like
a pro.
Jeff and I are simple fucking people. Like we just name it stout. We do have a handful of name beers just to separate them, but yeah, normally it's
two,
just
I think, really, or
Candace and Top Down. But the stout is
Sounds a good name.
Yeah.
Seems like
Yeah,
that's
that's
right.
fine. Yeah, it's just like I don't know. I'm like always second guess stuff. So like when it comes to like to a name, I'm like that sounds cool, and then like 5 seconds later, I'm like, no, that is lame, man. That was like dumb. Like what do you? And then like it's so permanent. Like you gotta call it that forever. I don't know. Like I'm fucked with like this daughter thing. I don't know.
I was
how
about to
name
ask
your
you about the
daughter.
kid, like, so I'm assuming you
Yeah.
just relinquishing naming duties there.
Yeah, well, my wife luckily is like she's great, and she's got like a ton of names, and she's kind of like got some stuff picked out that she likes, and like I just am like coming up with like fucked up shit, and like I'm like, how about we call her this or that?
Lava.
And she's
that is now
Suggest
documented.
Gertrude.
Gertrude. That's a
Suggest
good. Like
Gertrude.
all names I feel like are good, but then I'm like,
Suggest
it's so permanent, and I'm like, man, like what if she hates that name when she grows up, or like like I'm like, and then I'm like, are kids gonna like make fun of her for that name or something? I don't know. It's like so weird. I'm like, it might sound cool to a 40-year-old dude, but then like a 6-year-old in like kindergarten, and
She's
it's
gonna
like,
hate you for the child labor you're gonna put her through before she
right. She's gonna hate me for a lot of things. I'm sure the name is probably the last of like her
And,
worries.
I don't know, man. This is a different. It's a different
I mean, how
age,
did
and,
you
and like the
name
thing
your-
is that like it's not your name, it's your personality. You know what I mean?
absolutely,
Like, that
yeah,
really is
yeah.
what it is. It doesn't matter what the fuck you
Yeah.
call them. Like,
Well, and I'm stupid,
unless
too.
you do some like wild shit, like name them something.
Yeah.
like
You know what I mean?
Jamiroquai.
America.
That's a real person.
Jamiroquai?
Jamiroquai, yeah.
I mean, even Jamiroquai, like, yeah, I mean, that is tougher. Like, some names are tougher
But he had
than
that-
others.
You're like destined for great shit then, right? Because you're like, you gotta do
yeah,
something.
Jamiroquai, yeah.
You ain't gonna be a
Yeah.
CEO.
You
gotta do a music
You gotta do
video.
something amazing.
You
Like
gotta do a
you're-
music video
Yeah.
with a walking sidewalk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
and
no,
you gotta
you
wear
arts all
weird
the
ass
way.
fucking hats.
You're not going to feel nothing about Jamiroquai.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to love them or hate them.
You
But
gotta be amazing at that point, yeah. And it's like so permanent. And like I like worry because I'm gonna pick this name, and then people are just gonna think I'm dumb because they're like, that's the worst name ever. That guy's an idiot. Can't believe he even thought he'd call his daughter that shit. And you're just
Yeah,
like,
no, I had issue with my name for a little while when I was younger because my name's Edward. There were no other Edwards.
Yeah, right.
And
yeah.
it had an older feel. It wasn't cool. I was like, at one point I was like, man, why didn't he name me like Sean or something, like some Andre? Like
I don't think I
something
met
cool.
another Dominic until after college.
Word.
Yeah, no, it just wasn't a common name where I grew
Yeah.
up.
yeah, I hadn't met at a bloop, bloop, and then since then a bloop, and then like they did bloop, bloop.
Well, like Jeff is my middle name, so I go by my middle name. Ken is
Yeah.
my first name. I'm a junior, and I fucking hated that growing up, man. Because my parents called me Jeff to avoid the shit with my dad being Ken, and then I hated that name because like the same thing. I was like, Ken just sounds like a douchey old man's name, and
Right.
which is not. It's a fine name, and I'm not. Bankers and
I'm
people named
grown
Ken
to
are gonna
love it
hate
and
me now.
embrace it.
But like.
You're
Yeah, and Ed's a
destined to be
great
a
name. That's a
banker.
great name. But like, it was always just such a hassle for me too, because then I'd go to like school and the first day of school, and they'd be like, okay, Ken, like, what do you want to be called? Like, Kenny? And I'd be like, Jeff, can you call me Jeff? And they'd be like, no, Ken, that's not how it works. You don't just get to make up a name, you can like, you got to do a deviation. Like, Richard over here likes to go by Rick. And
Like, wait, you don't have
They
all my
said that?
information?
Yeah, right.
I thought you
oh,
had
yeah.
all my
and then
information.
the kids would just laugh and they'd be like, Kenny! Like, ha ha, Kenny! Yeah, and I'd be like, my name's Jeff. It's not Ken.
Nah, our teachers called us whatever, like, yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah.
I
Well,
was
I
in
mean,
school,
like that was
it
like the first day, and then I had to
Yeah.
explain it, and then they'd call me Jeff. But like that
Yeah.
first day, or then you get the substitute teacher that comes in and is like, "Okay, Ken," and
My
like,
teachers called me Day. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, like they would just like it was. I mean, that was just they were cool. It was we all.
yeah,
I don't know. I guess we did like we
you
all.
had a cool school, man.
I guess.
My school
It was
lame.
cool. Not more recently.
Oh yeah, not cool anymore.
Do some shit.
Where's your school? Are you from Pittsburgh?
Well, Woody High.
Woody? Oh yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, you guys did go through some shit.
A little bit laid back.
Yeah, yeah. You'll have it.
Wait, you both are from Pittsburgh, right?
I'm not
I
originally
am.
from
Not from
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
No, I grew up south of Harrisburg, about 30 miles. So I grew up in a little town called Wells, a little farming town, literally in the middle of nowhere. I moved to Philly for 2 years, got my inner city experience, went to Penn State, and then moved to Pittsburgh. So I came here in about 2003.
Oh, you're a Nittany Lion.
I am.
Ah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We were just talking about
Here we
that
go.
cult, man.
It is a cult.
It is a cult. It's like our daughter is going into that. Like she's going through it now. Like so, like she's in her first year, and she's like, it's like a cult here. We're like, yeah.
I was just in a bar last night with a bunch of people who were in from Minnesota, and they're like, I can't fucking believe how many Penn State fans there are. Like,
It just is. You wear the blue, and you just go to class, and you wear the blue, and you cheer the blue, and then you go to class, and you party, and you wear the blue, and it's just like you be.
There's like
you
nothing
a
else
blue
to do out
motherfucker.
there. I feel like you just have to get into it, right? Like my older sister went to Penn State, I went to Pitt, and then my younger sister went to Pitt. And I think my older sister like didn't talk to us for like ages. She was so pissed that like
she
that
was
my
jealous.
sister went to Pitt. She was like, "No, you got to come to Penn State." Like she was definitely angry over that. I was like,
She was
wow.
jealous, you know.
Yeah,
Pitt's
Pitt
public
is awesome. You're a Pitt guy?
Pitt's public Ivy League. Yeah,
Yeah,
Hell
man.
to Pitt. We got Wanamaker on the Celtics now.
Yeah, Pitt. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Some good shit.
how's that football team doing?
Well, here's the thing about that.
Here's the thing about all right. So here's my theory with
I think
you gotta
the
choose.
Nittany Lions lost to the Buckeyes, which I'm a Buckeyes fan. I'm from Cleveland, so you're not gonna win in this room. You might as well just let that.
You're from Cleveland, man.
I'll leave
How'd
it-
you end up in Pittsburgh?
I went to Pitt.
Pitt. Awesome.
Pitt's got to choose whether they want to be a basketball or a football school. Let's pick one.
We're middling. In both.
Right,
Well, we
right.
were middling in basketball. Don't let me get.
Yeah, I didn't.
I
Pay,
just-
I,
I
didn't even-
mean-
I never paid enough attention to the sports, man.
I mean, Penn needs to figure out if they want to be a football team or a Catholic team. I mean, it's a little like.
But I think that cult like culture, I think feeds
That's
into
what I'm
some shit
saying.
like that.
That's when you see that, like, it's like, oh, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because
It
it
is.
is so like.
There's just blind following that goes on.
Yeah,
Right, like, that's why
like,
that
not
shit
conscious
went
at all,
on
yeah.
for so long because like nobody questioned it. They're just like,
yeah,
oh, no,
because
no.
you
Like,
just like,
gotta go with
and
that.
that's what it is. Like I went through military training, and like that boot camp is just like it's the same thing. It's like, hey, wear the same colors, like do the same thing, cheer the same things, like I mean, it's that whole like it's 1984, like pile people into a room and like love the same things, hate the same things, like
Getting
I
their
mean,
eyes
then you
open
go
and just fucking-
and like the more money and the more, and that's what like frats and the whole nine or whatever is like the more you put into it. That's like basic psychology. Like the more you put into something, the more you're going to adhere to that because like why wouldn't I mean? So like it breeds that, you know. So it's tough. So like it is a great institution, and there's a lot of things like great things that come out of it. But like you also have to like I mean look at the negative side of things. I mean because like you can be a great person and have shitty things about yourself. You see what I'm saying? That's what a lot of people don't get. I mean, you just got to like, you could be good, but have a lot of shitty things. You have to.
Everybody's got skeletons.
You got to look at that and say,
own that shit, right?
You got to own that and be like, I mean, but you can't grow, you can't be better until you look at that. And that's like, you know, and that's what I think a lot of institutions, a lot of like, you know, various things. Like that's what like in that culture is like, it's like. I feel like they're like sweeping it under the rug and like let's just keep moving forward. And I'm like, hey man,
I mean
like,
that's all of today's political
church
economy,
too,
right?
right?
Like, it's just the blind like we're doing better. Are we? Can anybody stop and go? Are we? Really?
That's just like lethargy too, right?
It's so
I mean,
crazy because they fact check all the time, but it's like when they fact
cares.
check, it
doesn't
doesn't
even
even matter.
It doesn't even fucking matter.
Doesn't even matter. Like
You're
you
like,
see
we
all
have
the-
you on video saying that. No, I didn't. No, I
Yeah,
never said
or
that.
it's just
I'm
like,
gonna
all right,
play the video for you.
we literally can't find where he told the truth in this speech. And it's like, but I know you reporting this isn't gonna matter. Like, because people really like to live in their own reality.
They do.
Yeah.
Well, people like don't
ignorance
like,
is bliss.
like
You have
it's just
to-
like
yeah,
they don't.
you
It
have to-
doesn't
you have
affect
to
them.
seek
They're
it.
like la 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 la. I go to Whole Foods today. La la la. I take the kid to this daycare and like it just like doesn't affect them. And they're like, well, I don't care. Then I'm not gonna think about it.
Yeah, like your narrative aligns with what I'm trying to live like. So I'm gonna ride with that. And as long as I ride with that and get enough people to fuck with that, then it's gonna be true.
Right.
And so I'm sure people have always tried to push y'all into opening the tap room or the brew pub or whatever. But your reality has been very successful with just having it in the garage and affecting the community and having a dude come and snitch about brewing beer to his
8 years
t-shirt,
old,
like,
brewing beer all weekend long.
making great beer, but at the end of it, having great product and a great vision. So we definitely respect that. We got one more that we didn't. It's daytime.
Yeah, that's the New England.
Yeah.
Which you don't have to.
This is,
You can
man.
save it for later. You filled the heck out of those growlers, man.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
No headspace. I was listening to Malcolm Fraser's the Brewlosophy podcast. They were talking about headspace.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. You love the headspace. No
So this is a hazy?
That's the hazy style, yeah. Which, like, I love the hazy style, like, and that's kind of like what we were saying earlier,
juicy.
like how we decide what to do and stuff. You kind of like gotta do what people want you to do too, right? I mean, like, so right now, like, people want hazy IPAs, and if you don't have one, then they're gonna walk down to the next place. So
I'm okay with hazy being a staple, like a pilsner, like a stout, like a porter, like I mean, I'm okay with that being totally. So what is? What's the next year look like? Like in the craft scene, the trends, like, because I know the brew thing is out here. You got these like sours that are like really more fruit beers. You know what I mean? These smoothies. There's all these kind of. I mean, like, what's the?
I feel like every year we have this conversation. Everybody predicts something, and it's just something weird comes out of fucking left field.
People are getting more back to lagers and traditional.
Lagers are the big thing now.
Lagers are popular.
Yeah,
shout out to Helicon. Helicon does a lot of.
Yeah, lagers are. I mean,
they're delicious. You're talking about like crushable beers and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one thing that I think is going to happen is everybody's going to like respect that Northeast can be hazy, right? But I'd like to see people get back to making clear pilsners and clear beer.
Make beers clear again. Make beers clear.
We gotta stop making MAGA acronyms, man.
right.
Yeah, because
Everybody trying to do.
We're furthering that cult.
You pushing that message, man. Every time you do that, it goes back to MAGA, man. You Kanyeing it over here.
Man. We always joke though, because like when we first started making beer, there were like two kind of like simple things that you could really tell quickly if you did something wrong. Was like if the beer was hazy, like that was bad, or if the beer was sour, then that was like an infection and that was bad. And now it's like those are like the two most popular like desired things in your beer. Like if your beer is not hazy or not sour, like then it's like kind of like meh, like
no, you didn't fuck it up enough.
Right. Like I spent so much time like when I was learning how to brew, like trying to figure out how exactly to make a beer not hazy and how a beer be uber clean and make sure nothing gets infected and you get any sour flavors in there and stuff. Now everyone's like, nah, fuck that shit. We want it. Put that sour in there, man. They're good beers, man.
I enjoy a nice clean beer, and I think because our growth in craft has been more during the hazy phase. Like I get oversaturated with haze, but I really do like the clean beers. Like, I really enjoy those. Maybe those I don't come across those as frequently, and then when they're well done, they're really well done.
Yeah, but that's what's awesome.
And they're hard to do.
There's a place for all that, and just like as long as everybody doesn't follow one trend and do. That's why I hate that. Like, not that I hate that question, but like there's room for everybody to do everything. And the more experimentation people do, and the more weird, kind of crazy, and also foundational beers people do, the better off we are as an industry, right? If everybody does hazy IPAs, everybody does them, then beer becomes very one-dimensional. And that's not what craft is about, right? It's about creativity and varied tastes and room for everybody to play. If everybody does hazy IPAs, you're going to chase out everybody else.
Yeah, no, you got to diversify the portfolio.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Which is half the fun.
Yeah. Well, craft is much akin to restaurants, and you'll be able to find a craft brewery.
Yeah.
Most places it's like about to happen, but you'll be able to go to different ones and get a different feel, different style,
absolutely.
different flavor. But it might be it might be the same style, but it just tastes different.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is that that hope for. I think at some point the brewing industry, like the consumer, has to demand the best beer possible, not just settle because it is local. But let's get quality. Like
that's the big shift I think now. The big movement for the next year or two
styles.
Is people are like, if there was a time, and maybe even still to an extent, where people just love to support local and they're very excited about local, and quality kind of is not necessarily the number one issue there. They just love local, but it's getting to a point now where there's so many breweries opening up and there's room. There's definitely room for more breweries. It's just going to get to a point where there's not maybe as much room for like a brewery that's maybe not making high quality and it's just getting by because it's like local kind of thing. You gotta kind of really, step it up and make good beer. And there's definitely lots of room for other folks out there that want to make good beer. It's just we're getting to a point I think where it's going to be quality is going to start coming because the craft community is getting more educated now too, right?
Right,
I mean,
which is good.
In the last 10 years, people just didn't know as much as they do now. They've learned a lot about beer and quality and beer and all that stuff. And people are traveling. Like beer tourism is a thing now. Like like that was never a thing.
Yeah, they
when
do
I was
brew
a kid.
tours around Pittsburgh now.
Oh yeah,
It's
totally.
just
People
crazy.
like travel across country and stuff just to go to breweries and stuff. So it's like it's crazy. So
Now, have you seen, so being in Highland Park, being so close to the East End, which has transitioned a lot, have you seen different patrons who come to your brewery now, who
I think
come and
it's
seek
flipped
it out? Like, because it's getting younger, like the wealth in that area. Because Highland Park, when I came, was traditionally older money.
Yeah,
Older,
for sure.
Inhabitants and connected to East Liberty, which was a low income, but now East Liberty's obviously changing because they got an influx of younger, newer money, but they always looking for the next thing to do. So if they find out that they have this interesting, like every neighborhood has a brewery, but this brewery's in a garage. Let's go do that. Like, do you get that? Like, where's newer?
Yeah, it's
transplants
changed.
coming
It's definitely changed.
The folks that would seek us out in the day or were craft folks, it definitely did skew more to like older, like established folks with disposable income, families, things like that.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a lot more young people now, like even like college kids that seek us out and find us because like I think
money.
Yeah, the kids the folks are. Like, I think, like, in general, drinking is, like, I don't know, when we were in college, it was, like, all about getting hammered and pounding cheap beer and getting drunk. And the kids nowadays are not so much about, like, getting drunk. Like, they got their Instagram, they want to look good, they're into fitness, and they're into drinking still. But when they drink, they want to drink good shit. So they're drinking good beers or good cocktails. And like,
you don't
want to,
like,
that out
bloat
now.
yourself with, like,
yeah, exactly.
13, like, beers, bro. Let's do 13 of these
like,
motherfuckers.
I took down a 30-pack of
But along
Coors
that
last
note,
night,
It's interesting. Like, so we always, being accessible has always been kind of one of the things that we've always loved about us. So we notoriously hear that we're one of the cheapest beer in Pittsburgh, right? So every account we go into, like, you guys are just you're too inexpensive. And the goal there is that we want to be accessible to everybody. So it's not just, and we do distribute to Smallman and Federal Galley and some of the high-end places in the city, but we also have, some of your average run-of-the-mill hole-in-the-wall bars. Like, you should be able to get a CoStar for under $5 or $4 or $5, right? Like,
Some
that's what
places
we would
don't.
like, right?
I get irritated sometimes because we sell beer to these places like dirt cheap, where we make like practically nothing on it,
And they market
then
it.
they market the hell up, and you're just like, man, you're giving like 10-ounce pours for like $8, and like, that's always been a big part of us. Is like we want the people to be able to like buy. Like, I would rather make less money to make the beer cheaper and approachable and let everybody have some of it. But
Yeah, we'd rather be accessible than.
I mean, that's the world, right? I can't tell the guy
Get
what
it
to
from the
charge
source.
for the beer.
Yeah,
Well, now
get
you're
it
gonna
from
have
the
all of
source.
our listeners showing up to your house.
True.
Hold on, they marking that shit up all crazy.
Yeah, it's like, what?
I can go to his crib, get it from the source, and get a popsicle.
You get a popsicle, yeah.
And if the
Or
Leona's girls
Leona's.
are,
You might even get a Leona's. I don't even know. Maybe a taco.
go set up your chairs over at Etna right now. That's the goal.
Oh, no,
is
don't say
to
that.
get-
Mary Ellen's
I
gonna be
know,
mad.
she'll kill us. The goal is to get over and open an Etna in the next year. We've really working on the next year to getting the building foundations poured as soon as the ground thaws next spring. Hopefully, we're working with an architect right now to get the drawings done, and hopefully, midsummer, depending, like we were talking about, financing the equipment, getting all that in there. We'd love to be open next October or next August, September timeframe. Which at that point we will have a $5 tap. We'll have a Kolsch or a Pilsner on tap 24/7 at $5 or under. Like, so you can walk in, you don't feel intimidated. It's not like all about pinkies out or bottle collecting. Anybody should be able to walk in.
ABV or
Big
something.
ABV, right?
It's weird. I do drink with my pinky.
I
out.
do that too, actually.
Yeah,
I don't know why. It's not even a bougie
It's just
thing.
because I don't
just
think I
drink with
need
my
the,
pinky
you don't
out.
because you don't
support
need
thing,
it
right?
for anything.
I do the same thing. I'm
do
just
it.
like, and then I catch myself doing it. I'm like, shit, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Man? It's like rapid.
Yeah, like if I'm at the bottom of it, there's no pinky place.
Yeah, there's
to
no
be had, so it's-
you
These
don't
short
need it
glasses.
for
Oh,
anything.
bougie
you
as
know what I
fuck.
mean? And like when you drink, you typically
Yeah.
put your like, you know what I mean? When you so
Yeah.
it's just, that's
It's
where
just there,
you don't
I know.
think you're doing this for.
Yeah.
So CoStar, the Five Below of beers. All right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, I think that's dope that you guys do that. Like,
Yeah.
you want to keep it under 5 minutes. If you marking they shit up all astronomically, stop it.
Yeah, stop that shit.
Yeah.
Stop that
that.
shit. Yeah, I mean, motherfuckers will start figuring it out. Like
Yeah.
now that it's out there, motherfuckers will start figuring it out. Like, oh, say and like I said, I mean, like, you know, that community access, like, and Kolsch, like a good Kolsch. That's what like.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, that's a beautiful introductory beer to
Everybody should have
like,
that
nice.
Yeah.
You got a $5 Kolsch.
Right.
I'll bring
that all
any
day.
of my friends, and they'll be like, you know what? I didn't know craft beer
always
could be
be
like
order
this.
that.
Yeah, and like
I'll
that's what, like,
always order that.
People go to breweries, I think, a lot of times, or they won't go, or they get drugged with friends, and they're like, "There's nothing there for me. It's all hoppy, it's all high alcohol, and like you get a good Kolsch on there, or even like a good Pilsner. Like, you know, people can drink that shit. Maybe you know,
This is that fucking was a great Pilsner. Like,
Thanks,
that's a great Pilsner because
Appreciate
it it bridges the gap like between like the beginners and like because it's flavorful enough for us to enjoy
Yeah.
like the big craft folks, but like it's also like
As long as it's
drinkable
clean and
and,
good.
like,
drinkable
yeah,
enough for like people
yeah.
that like are used to like a Budweiser or like
Exactly,
a
yeah.
Miller or whatever. Like it's like, oh shit,
So
man.
that's those simple beers can be so again going back to quality, like you can do a Pilsner. Like we talk about Kolsch and Pilsner as really accessible beers. That doesn't mean that they're made averagely. Like there's
They're the
really
hardest to
excellent.
make.
They're the hardest to make.
Yeah,
and
that's what I'm saying.
excellent
Man. Yeah,
examples of
it's
the style. So
tough to do that.
make sure go back. Like make sure you're demanding the best quality Pilsner and Kolsch when you go out. Don't accept it just because it's an accessible beer.
There you go. I think that's a great takeaway.
Preach.
Demand the quality that you seek, the quality that you deserve. Get you one of them clear Pilsners. That shit was good as hell.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Really, really, really good.
Thank you.
So we have to ask, and normally we do ask this at the end of the podcast, but don't literally tell people where they can find you because too many people are coming to your house.
Say where.
Yeah.
You can say what bars we distribute to.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
So-
well, I'm not. I don't want to do anything as far as getting weirdos sitting out front of your house.
Yeah.
I don't want to contribute to
don't
that.
get us
but
kicked out of the neighborhood.
tell
So
people
I
where
mean,
they can find y'all.
So we distribute not on a regular basis. You know, it depends on
Yeah, it
availability.
rotates.
It rotates. So you can find us at Smallman and Federal Galley occasionally. You can find us at Spork Pit in Garfield.
Yeah. Independent brewing. Up in
Independent
Squirrel.
Brewing. Lorelei, we just delivered our first kegs to
Okay.
in East Liberty. Bulldog Pub in Morningside.
Butter Joint.
and Legume over in Oakland.
Yeah.
Sometimes Mad Mex or
Every
Kelly's.
now and again, Mad Max, Kelly's. Yeah.
Yeah. So generally, you know, the other place to find us is Instagram. It's just CoStar Brewing. Facebook, CoStar Brewing, and I post, you know, where I take the kegs to on there, so you can see where they go. That doesn't mean they're going to be tapped immediately, but you'll know in the vicinity where they are. And then Twitter is CoStar Brewing 1 because
The number
I
one.
forget passwords.
He is the
So we
worst.
actually own CoStar Brewing, but I don't know how to get on it.
And I am terrible at social media, so I don't do any of that. I can't keep up.
Yeah, and the email, if you want to reach out to us, is just costarbrewing@gmail.com. Jeff and I both get those emails and read them on a daily basis. So we're around.
We out here.
Support those local businesses too. I mean, one of the ones that we distribute to those places for a purpose. You know, they support local. They're locally owned. They're not mass places. So
They're
go support
quality
those places. They're
places.
high quality places.
like
You can get
quality.
great beer. Yeah.
Yeah.
They let the people know where they can find us.
We are the Drinking Partners. If you're looking for us, you can find us on epicastnetwork.com/partnerspod. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Libsyn, Google Play,
We Googleable.
and Spotify.
Spotify.
Under Drinking Partners. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher. You can find us on IG, Facebook,
There you go.
and Twitter at PartnerSpot.
Just find us. Just find us somewhere. You
Googleable.
listening to us, you can find us. You've already found us. We want to thank our guests for coming out, man. Jeff and Dom, thank you. Yeah, I mean, great
for having
beer.
us. You guys.
Yeah.
Great message. You know, support local co-stars because you all are willing to share the spotlight. And that's what we need to do, not only within this industry, but just within this economy. You know what I mean? Like, let's build this up. Let's collaborate. They always talks about collaboration. Let's do that, man. Collaborate on making everybody's lives better.
sure.
We are the Drinking Partners, and as always, Drinking Partners is the crew. Epicast is the family. We out here.
Epicast.